Hello, and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science. How's the sound, guys? Is there sound? No sound so far. Any sound? Is the sound okay? AS2, good to see you. Can you guys hear? Is there any sound? Hi, Pauline. Sounds good. Okay, so now we're going to go to the next step and see how the chord sounds. Let's see how that does.
You swear affirm under penalty of law that the testimony.
Is there any echo? Is it okay?
The whole truth and nothing but the truth? All right, have a seat talking to the microphone, thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Ms. Smith, go ahead and state
go
your
ahead
full
and state
name
your
for the
full name
record.
for the record.
Rebecca Smith.
Rebecca Smith.
And
Ms. Smith,
in October of 2021, how were you employed?
I was employed by
No echo.
Services.
Was that on the set of
Is that on the
Rust?
set of
Yes,
Rust?
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you explain to the jury what Key Craft
Key
Services does?
Key craft.
Okay, so you say there's an echo. Brian? I'm going to try your earphones. Bad echoing now, okay.
Just switch, but mine just will say USB-C.
And so I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So your ear's clean. Okay, guys, is there echo now? Is there any echo at the moment? Your voice is okay, no echo, okay. And now is there any echo when I play the live stream? Is that better? Hey, Chelsea, good to see you. Is the sound back now or what? Is the sound back? Still no sound. Okay, so I actually don't know what to do. Can I put these speakers, the earphones into my phone?
Yes.
But then I'm gonna not, then it's not plugged into my computer anymore.
What application?
StreamYard.
You wanted to suggest the amplifiers. Yes.
Unmute. Okay. So local hero says no port sound, but I hear you fine. Okay, so let's start again. Is my sound okay right now? Or is the echo back? See, the Wi-Fi is just not strong enough. They're saying port sound is warbled. I mean, that's an internet thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm fine. Let's see how the court TV goes. Let me know if there's any echo with the court TV.
The evening of October 21st, 2021.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
And at some point that evening, did you go to Ms. Gutierrez's hotel room? Yes.
Yes.
And why did
And
you
why
do
did
that?
you do that?
Court and I forget what his name was, but the set steward were in her hotel room and needed to go to the store to get something, did not want to leave her alone.
So is the court sound so bad that it's not worth doing? Brian, can you come have a look here? I'm just wondering if I plug this into the monitor, whether that might solve the problem, like on this side. Come around this side. So I plugged it in here, didn't work. I plugged it in there, didn't work. I can't plug it in here because it needs to be through there. What if I plug it in there?
That's your USB.
Is it not gonna?
But if look, if you plug in there, you're gonna try my Bluetooth ones. Just
Well, let me try plugging it in here.
plug it
I
in.
mean, it's 18% charged, which let's see how long it lasts. 1.8, yeah. Okay, thanks for. Okay, do I echo now? How's my echo? Do I have an echo? Am I not echoing? No echo on me, okay. And now how does the live stream sound?
They called me and asked me to come up to her room. Okay, and did you do that? Yes, ma'am. And did you stay with Ms. Gutierrez? Did you leave?
Okay, now they're saying it's good, but now I'm hearing an echo. I wonder if I can't mute. I think I'm gonna not put these in. That might work.
Okay. Yeah. Just plug that.
Yes. Did anything
How does it sound
unusual
now?
happen when you left Ms. Gutierrez's room?
Yes.
She
Sound good, you are okay too.
something for her.
Okay.
I said yes. She put it in my hand and I walked out.
Okay, so I need a vote. I need all of you to vote now. Is it of acceptable standard to continue? Yes or no? Let me know. Is the sound and audio of an acceptable standard to continue? Let me know. Oh, they're still saying court echo.
As there was a knock on the door. And after you left the room, did you look to see what she had placed in your hand? Yes. And can you describe, without making any assumptions about what it was, can you just describe what you saw in your hand? Yes. It was a clear Ziploc baggie with a green small Ziploc baggie inside, and there was powder inside the green baggie. What color was the powder? White. If I want you to compare this to like a sugar packet that you was definitely not sugar. No. I'm sorry. Let me get my look like sugar. Let me get my question out. Okay. I want to have a discussion about how much was in the green part. And I want you to compare it to a sugar packet that you would open and put in coffee or tea. Okay. How many of those do you think it was? Maybe 4 or 5. Okay. And Ms. Smith, how old are you? I'm 51. And when you were a younger person, did you have an opportunity to use the drug cocaine? Yes, ma'am. I'm a recovering addict. Are you familiar with what cocaine looks like? Yes, ma'am. Are you familiar with the way that cocaine is packaged? Yes, ma'am. based on that experience, what did you believe to be in the bag?
I believed it to be cocaine.
And what did you do with it?
I threw it in.
Can you hear me now? I can see your comment, Sherry. Okay, so I'm gonna talk and I'm gonna play the stream and let me know how that is.
In the hallway trash can before even going downstairs.
Is the volume high enough for
And why did
the
you throw it in
stream?
the hallway trash can?
Because like I said, I am a recovering addict. I can't, first and foremost, my possession. And second, I was really very offended and I didn't want anything to do with.
It's also a
the
bit quiet to
situation.
me.
Okay.
I don't know how I can make it
After-
any.
After October 21st passes, did you receive any text message
the volume better?
communications from Ms. Gutierrez?
Yes,
And-
several.
And generally speaking, what was the theme of those messages?
I want my stuff back.
Everything good
Other
now? Everything
than
okay?
The bag containing the green bag containing the white powder. Other than that item, did you have anything else that belonged to Ms. Gutierrez?
No, ma'am.
Did you bring this information to the attention of law enforcement?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Like I said, I didn't want to be involved in the situation if I didn't have to be.
Okay. And how long after the incident do you think it was?
So did you catch what she said? I didn't want to be involved if I didn't have to be. So I wonder how I got it to have to be. Well, the odds are against me. I've only got 15% power on my phone and I have to use earphones. So that's going to limit how long I can do this live.
Before someone reached out to you to talk to you about this?
I believe it was about September of 2023 when you contacted me about it.
And I personally called you?
Yes, ma'am. Texted, I believe it was.
Okay. And did you tell me on that day what you have testified to today?
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, Deborah, good to see you.
I'll pass the witness.
So although we missed a little bit of it, it was actually quite a short
Ms. Smith, good morning.
Good morning.
examination by the
That
prosecutor.
night, when you went to Miss Gutierrez Reed hotel room, you were called over and Miss Gutierrez Reed was distraught, correct?
Yes.
Now you were called over and there were, you could see she was visibly distraught, couldn't you?
Yes.
And didn't you say that you would stay with her that night and make sure she was okay?
I said I would stay with her for a little bit, yes, until court and the steward came back.
Okay. And at the time you left, had they gotten back?
No,
So before they got back, despite your word earlier, you left.
yes.
Did Miss Gutierrez Reed also go to your room that night?
No.
Now, your testimony is that the last time you used cocaine was approximately 20 years old. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So that would have been, I think, 31 years ago.
Yes.
And since then, thankfully, you've been clean. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So you have not seen that substance in 31 years. That's fair to say?
No, That's not fair to say.
Okay,
I have seen it, just not used it.
okay. Now, you stated on direct examination that you believed it to be cocaine.
Yes,
And do you recall stating at one point that you said it could be cocaine or meth?
I don't recall saying that, no.
Okay, do you recall at your pretrial?
So guys, obviously this is kind of hypothetical. We sort of not at the point where we can say absolutely whether drugs were involved or not, but on a scale of alcohol was used, well, let's say, not sure, I guess it's debatable, which one is more potentially gonna affect your cognitive processes, your ability to be detail-oriented or conscientious. Marijuana, alcohol, and I suppose it does depend on how much one is using of each substance. But let's say one's had a certain amount of alcohol compared to a certain amount of marijuana, compared to a certain amount of cocaine. And what does cocaine do? Cocaine gives you kind of a false sense of confidence, right? And is that what was, how can I put it? Was that an aspect in the dynamic with the armorer, a false sense of confidence? Would she have wanted to feel confident in that setting of being rushed, of feeling perhaps not ready, and all that kind of thing? And so is part of this whole thing due to a kind of false confidence? What do you guys think? Eric says, did next stream just start? Well, there was a bit of troubleshooting to begin with. Anyway, let's hear what the defense attorney comes up with here.
Interview being asked the question, what was in those baggies? Inside the snack baggie was the green baggie. Inside the green baggie was a white powdery substance, which I knew to be cocaine, or I mean, it could have been meth or something too.
It could have,
Okay,
but I don't believe that it was, nor did I state that I believed it was. I just said that it could be.
and that was my question. I'm just asking if you said it could have been meth too.
Correct.
So in reality, it could have been a number of other white powders. Would you agree with that?
Sure.
Do you know what creatine looks like?
No.
Protein powder?
Creatine.
Yes, because I work in craft services.
Pauline Buckle says it also takes the edge of a
There's a
hangover.
whole list of items. There's a lot of
Robbie
powder
Robbins says, I wonder whether
Mhm.
she was taking
Yes.
drugs
Okay.
on set.
So the reality is you have a belief, but you don't know for certain what was in that bag, do you?
Correct.
So I just want to address that. If you think about it, the way I understand it, Hannah, on the day of the incident, handed a baggie to Sarah. Now, doesn't that mean she had a baggie with white powder in it on set with her during the day? And if she had if she had a baggie with white powder in during the day, didn't that mean if she wanted to, she could go to the restroom and make use of whatever was in the baggie? Does that make sense? And I'm not a drug addict, so I don't really know. I don't know, are there any drug addicts here? Do drug addicts tend to kind of visit the restroom often? Do you like powder your nose? Like, where do drug addicts sort of do their thing? Do they sort of like Superman go through like a revolving door? What's the thing? But I would imagine one of them is going to the restroom. And isn't kind of going to the restroom a little bit of a feature in Hannah's story? What do you guys think? Let me also just ask again, sound and video quality, is it okay or is it warbly and terrible? Thanks for your comment, Robbie Robin.
Now, that was never tested,
No,
and that was never provided to law enforcement.
no.
How long did you hold that baggie before you threw it in the trash?
I didn't make it all the way down the hallway.
So, how many feet do you think that was that you walked?
I don't even know how many feet the hallway is long, so
Can you,
I mean-
can you look at the courtroom and estimate, just telling us?
possibly to the distance of the gentleman in the blue suit.
Okay, is he seated
Right
at
here,
council table?
yes.
So would you agree with me that's about 20, 25 feet?
Sure.
Okay, so you walked 20, 25 feet, and were you looking at that bag the whole time, or were you having it down by your side?
At first it was down by my side, and then I, of course, raised my hand to look.
Okay, now, weren't you walking past some police officers too?
Men in uniform, not sure whether they were police officers.
Well, what do the uniforms look like?
They could have been armed security. I did not see an actual badge, so I could not say for sure that they were police. They were men in uniform in either security or police.
Well, do you recall being asked the question, why didn't you just hand it back to her? And you said, because I didn't want to do anything in front of the police. On page 19 of your interview?
Yes,
So at that time at your interview, you indicated they were police.
I indicated that I believed that they were police. Yes.
No, you didn't say believe. You said, because I didn't want to do anything in front of the police. So were they police or not?
I don't know.
So,
I just want to respond to this whole idea that Hannah was using creatine. I've used creatine a little bit. In the height of when I did triathlon, I used a bit of creatine. To me, Hannah is not the type to use creatine. Creatine is kind of, as far as I'm concerned, associated with sort of high athletic performance and muscle tone and sort of, extreme athletic scenario, not anything else. So the creatine thing just seems to me absolutely absurd. The problem here is that there was no toxicology done, so a defense lawyer can speculate till the cows come home. Could it have been sugar? Could it have been crystal meth? I think is that kind of powder as well. Could it have been? It could have been anything. Could it have been flour? Right? And the problem is there was just no toxicology done. But I still think it's one more thing that is even if it's loosely associated with Hannah, it's not good for her case. Hannah's case is already looking a bit shaky. Just yet another aspect that she's kind of got to potentially answer for. Okay, let's continue.
you walk down 25 feet.
Yes,
you look at
creatine
the
is
bag,
legal.
You throw it in the trash, is that right?
I looked at it and then waited for the trash can, of course. I didn't throw it on the floor or anything, so I did have to wait for the trash can to be there.
Sure, so you, in fairness, you probably had 5 seconds to look at this bag, is that about right?
Yes.
So you had a 5-second glance through a white baggie and a green baggie, and you then based your conclusion on that. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you also said that you thought this was about 4 to 5 sugar packets.
Correct.
Okay. Well, do you recall previously stating that you didn't know what the weight was?
Correct.
What do you guys think of Hannah's appearance today? I would say that she looks similar to what she looked like on trial day 7, which is saying something because so far every day she's looked fairly significantly different. She kind of looked like Medusa on the one day. She had sticks in her hair on the other day. She was like a glamazon, I think, on day 1. And her look is sort of stabilized, I guess, into this sort of somewhat ordinary appearance, just with the curls and a jacket. Do you guys agree? Mel Stiller says she's not in black today. Yeah. So I think they may be going for the Michelle Troconis strategy, which is try and make Hannah sort of disappear from the courtroom.
And do you recall indicating that it could be a couple of pounds?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, do you recall being asked a question? So you have no experience with weight, and you testify, well, I don't know what it weighed. I mean, could be an 8-ball, but I don't even know what an 8-ball weighs. So, I mean, that's like asking me how much this weighs. I don't know. It's a couple of pounds. You want to see this?
No, I don't need to see it. What I was referring to was a body armor that I'd already opened and taken a couple of drinks of, and I held it up and said, I don't know what this weighs. Maybe a pound or 2. That was in reference to the body armor, not to the baggies.
Okay, well, in reality, in a 5-second glance, would you agree with me? You have no idea what the weight was.
Correct.
Okay.
So I want to deal with AM's comment that he says, is it he or she? I'm not sure, AM, if you are a he or a she, or a they or a... Anyway, I have the impression that Hannah has identity issues. I do too. Like, one of the things that you want to look out for when someone's on trial is, first of all, is there kind of a continuity or a consistency between the person you see on social media, the person that they portray themselves in their profile photo, the person that you've seen in police body cam or whatever, and then the person you see in the courtroom. And it's not only that, it's the person that you see in the courtroom, is that person the same person? And I must say, during the Henry van Bedar trial, where I was present for that, the ex-murderer, his appearance changed dramatically. And anyone who's still trying to find their look when they're on trial has serious identity problems. And if you've got identity problems, it probably means you've got serious other problems. You don't know who you are. Other people don't know who you are. You don't know what you want. Other people don't know what you want. And it can cause chaos. So that's just one indication. Any person that sort of doesn't know how to present themselves, like, should I be this or should I be that? I mean, that's something that you tend to go through when you're a teenager, but you can go through it at any time of your life. But anyone who's going through an identity crisis within a situation where crime may have occurred or been committed is someone you want to look at. And think about Michelle Troconis, how her identity was being challenged by a rival, the ex-wife, where, is she allowed to be in the house when the children come and visit? So her identity is literally being kind of undermined or threatened. And that can be, for you, it may not seem like a big deal, but anyone whose identity is undermined it's like, how can I put it? It's not like being actually killed, but it's almost like a symbolic death. And some people will kill other people in order to avoid that kind of symbolic death. And that's something you very seldom hear from law enforcement, from detectives, that kind of motive, because that motive to you is very important. Just that thing of want to protect who you are and protect your sense of self, but it's a motive that's almost inconsequential to somebody else because you don't care as much about someone else's social status as you do about your own, right? So Hannah's identity issues, I think, are compare Hannah's sort of appearance changes to Sarah Zachary's. Compare Hannah's appearance changes to pretty much everyone else that's testified. I think the only person whose appearance has also changed a heck of a lot through the course of time that we've known him is Alec Baldwin, which I think is also quite interesting. Okay, let's continue.
And you really, other than your guess, you have no idea for certain what was in that bag.
Correct.
Then may I just have one moment? Ma'am, last question. Do you recall in those text messages between you and Ms. Gutierrez-Reed, she at one point asked you back for her things, plural?
Yes.
Okay. And so things is more than one, right?
Yes.
Okay. I have nothing further.
It's a good point, Sharon.
Ms. Smith, have you ever seen powdered sugar packaged like that?
Never.
Have you ever
Good
seen
point.
regular sugar packaged like that?
Never.
Have you seen cocaine packaged like that?
Yes.
You were asked some questions about your contact with Ms. Gutierrez inside the room. Did you, when you were in there, in Ms. Gutierrez's room visiting with her, did you speak with her?
Yes.
Did she mention to you that she was extremely worried about Ms. Hutchins and Ms. Hutchins' death?
No, ma'am.
What specifically?
And that is a point I've repeatedly made is one aspect, like in a situation like this, one sign of innocence as opposed to guilt is expressing concern about the victim, right? As opposed to expressing concern about yourself. And I've kind of brought this up constantly. I brought it up during both interrogations, the one when she didn't know Helena had died, the other one when she did know. But which person around her kind of observed Hannah breaking down and saying, I'm so sorry, or I can't believe what's happened to Helena, not I can't believe what's happened to me. And I hope she's going to be okay, and asking if she's going to be okay. Now think about the combination of that thing of an existential crisis, which is all about me. Who am I going to be? How do people see me? And I mean, a lot of what Hannah was going through was, I don't want people to see me in this vehicle. I don't want people to see me being arrested. I don't want me, the first armor in the world that's so amazing, in this situation, right? It's all of that is being caught up in an existential crisis or an existential dilemma. And so you're not thinking outside of yourself. You're not thinking about other people. And isn't that exactly what you're talking about? And so if you combine that with, to some extent, the possibility of drug use and also the inability to think about somebody else. Anyway, let's continue.
Did she say to you when you were in her room with regard to any concerns that she had?
She was concerned about her career. She was concerned about being prosecuted.
Does that sound right?
Nothing further. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ask one more question.
Can we approach real quick?
Yes.
Okay, so guys, while they're approaching, I'm sorry to say that I've only got like 8% left on my phone. It's already midnight where I am. I'm in Windhoek, Namibia. We drove all day to get here, basically left at about 8:30 or so. Had a long stint at the border. And so it was a really, really long drive. So it's not going to be a very long live stream analysis here. Sorry about that.
Yes.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, you're excused. Thank you. Next witness.
Let me look at the list. Just one second.
So today we passed across the Tropic of Capricorn, and you guys can go and look at where this place is in Namibia, if you guys are interested. And you can have a look at my Instagram for a little bit of additional info. Is Seth Kenney testifying now? Because I think there was a break and then.
Rise.
I'm down to 7%. Okay, so we're gonna listen to about 5 or 10 more minutes, but before we do, just to let you know, yeah, I had about 3 hours sleep, and then it's a long drive here, and because I'm also with. Oh, did you watch Quick for Start Murders? Okay, thanks, Deborah. Because I'm also with Brian, I can't sort of be up all night jabbering because he's kind of in the room next door. So that's also my excuse for not working as hard as I would normally do. I would normally do a 4-hour live or whatever. So I'm kind of on a holiday, but also want to kind of keep up to date as far as I can day to day. The only difficulty is the internet here is, it's on a totally different system, and the Wi-Fi is kind of not so great, and so that just does create difficulties and problems. But expect a much longer show tomorrow. It'll start earlier and it'll continue for a little bit longer. Today was really about testing some of the equipment. Anyway, let's listen to the next witness for a few minutes, and then I'm going to be saying goodbye to you guys. See, I'm blaming you so that I can go to sleep,
Stand before the judge.
Do you swear affirm under penalty of law that the testimony you'll give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, have a seat, talk into the microphone. Thank you.
Good morning, sir. State your full name for the record, please.
Good morning, Seth Andrew Kenney.
Mr. Kenney, where to begin? In October of 2021, what kind of business did you run?
I ran a prop and weapons supply house to the film and entertainment industry. Could be anything from theater and also volunteer work associated with active shooter training.
Okay. Would you move that microphone a little closer
Sure.
to you there?
Yep.
If you can. All right. And do you still have that business?
I do.
How did you get into the prop supply business?
I got contacted in about 2009. Had previously been consulting for a firearms business, indoor shooting range, and retail segment, as well as some law enforcement training. So there was a crossover. And from that, I met an individual that was working in the film industry. And at some point, he said he needed some help, and it was just going to be a 2-month thing, turned into 15 years.
Okay. And that individual, what kind of work did that individual do?
He did a similar thing where he set up weapons, sent them out onto shows, and also worked as an armor on set.
Okay.
So, do you guys think of Seth as a good guy, a bad guy, a neutral character? How do you think of him? Like, I struggle to see Seth without seeing that sort of clutter, that chaos, in terms of his office. And I mean, Hannah was kind of a product. She was like kind of his protege. I mean, obviously she was also trained by her own father, but where did she learn to be organized and neat and how to do her job? Well, if she learned anything from Seth, wasn't it to be messy?
So how long have you owned PDQ Props?
It's been about 12 years, maybe 13.
Okay. And at some point, sir, did you meet a gentleman by the name of Thel Reed?
I did very briefly. Oh, I was aware of Thale Reed because we were on opposite ends. He was working set on
Sal Reed is Hannah's stepfather.
on Django Unchained, and I was behind the scenes working with the prop master, preparing the weapons that were going to be used by cast. So I was aware of him then, and then very briefly one day, a prop master brought him into the LA Prop House Arsenal, where I did actually meet him. It wasn't again.
Okay. Sound is 100%, but some people say there's no sound. Okay.
Ending up on a call sheet, being hired by a film production. It could be episodics. It could be any TV show that you might see. Walking Dead, for instance.
What a
And then, or it could just be a feature film, like Django Unchained. And so
yeah,
when
I
you
can't
when
hear
you
anything
are
either.
hired by production, you end up being
I just try to charge my phone and now jinxed everything. Now nothing's working. Can you guys hear me? I can't hear what the court's saying.
Not your thing.
Definitely not my focus.
And what, at some point in time, did you and Mr. Reed work on a film together? Mr. Reed was
An armorer or a coach, and you were the.
Can you
vendor of
guys
goods.
hear the court now?
That was, it was 1883. It wasn't a feature film. It was more of a, one run episodic. And I had been working with Taylor Sheridan's prop master.
And who's Taylor Sheridan?
Taylor Sheridan is a writer director of Paramount production, and he's kind of created his own segment of Americana that's very popular.
Are you talking about Yellowstone and 1883?
Yellowstone 1883, Yellowstone 1923, Mayor of Kingstown, Sicario. He wrote Sicario, both, I believe. Wind River, amazing movie.
Okay.
That was actually the first time that I had been a provider consultant for Taylor Sheridan, was on Wind River.
Okay. Let's jump back to.
So just to let you guys know, once my phone dies, then this whole live stream dies. I'm on 4% power. I did try and do a quick fix, but it actually messed everything up. You can already predict what the defense is going to do. He's going to basically undermine Seth Kenney by also showing the mess, right? And you can see what's happening. The prosecution are painting him as a experienced, upstanding citizen, and the defense are going to try and paint him as someone that was arguably responsible for putting the live rounds, how the live rounds got into set, basically worse than his client.
To 1883. Describe for the jury, please, how you and Mr. Reed sort of worked together on that series.
Well, I had to push hard to get him onto the crew and hired. And so we talked about it, and I'm fairly tight with the prop master. Again, we've been working together since Wind River. And I convinced him to hire Thale, and to keep him on longer than most gun coaches or older persons would be allowed on set. Frankly, the Texas heat was just too much for him.
And just so that everyone knows, approximately how old is Mr. Reed now?
Exactly, I don't know, but he's got to be pushing 80.
Okay. So in what capacity was Mr. Reed hired on the set of 1883? Was he a coach or an armorer?
Primarily, he was the gun coach, and he had difficulty with the Texas heat. So I was constantly making sure that he was in an air-conditioned environment, and that's not something that a set on Texas allows for.
Sure. So describe for the jury the kind of gun coaching that.
Okay, so there's quite an interesting question. What is an unofficial mentor? So an unofficial mentor is, well, Seth was not a mentor in the Rust production notes. He wasn't employed by Rust, right? But there was talk that he was mentoring Hannah. And so I guess you could argue that he wasn't mentoring Hannah, and you could argue, in other words, he wasn't officially mentoring Hannah, and you could argue that he wasn't unofficially mentoring Hannah. But what you can see is that Seth sent Hannah to Rust. Rust accepted Hannah, and Seth continued to sort of, if you don't like the word mentoring, you could say he was giving her advice. She was sharing some difficult with him, sharing incidents that had occurred, and he was advising her. And so however you want to slice it, he was a kind of unofficial mentor. That makes sense. I'm at 3% on my phone. Unfortunately, when I charge my phone, the sound goes out. So that's the trade-off. It's a shorter live. So sorry about that.
Was being done on 1883.
Well, it involved initially, it was pretty casual, and we were using replicas, and it happened to be Taylor Sheridan's private arena.
When you say replicas, are you talking about real guns or fake guns?
These are fake. These are fake guns,
Okay.
replicas. Yeah. And so that's where it started. It's kind of a meet and greet and just get some of the basics down. And Phil, he's been doing it for so many decades, 60 plus years as a gun coach in armor. He knows small bite-sized pieces to the actors is best.
Okay.
So
thanks, Len
Was
Lippy.
there coaching sessions that included real firearms?
There were. Then at some point, it was decided, and I'm not sure who made the decision, that they actually wanted to set up in a private range on a portion of Taylor Sheridan's private ranch with an appropriate backstop and it controls. And that is where the cast, it was a bit of a team building as well, learned about the functioning of the firearms, and we were mixed between blanks and live. We had live ammunition in one area and then take people off to the side and shoot blanks, and essentially the safe distance on most blanks.
So he's being asked about, did you guys ever go and shoot live rounds, right? And it's a very weird situation because on the one hand, you can argue the live rounds came from Seth and Thel. On the other hand, Hannah came from Seth and Thel as well. So wasn't Hannah also someone who liked to shoot live rounds? And there was also a witness who saw rounds lying around in Hannah's hotel room, which you'd imagine is totally unprofessional. Like, you shouldn't be taking rounds away from the set. The rounds should be brought to the set by a specific procedure, and then that's it, right?
Blanks is about 20 feet. So we would take them away from the firing line and test and train them there. And primarily, they had got.
How do you think Hannah feels about Seth now? Like, look on her face. Seth basically gave Hannah this job, or basically put a good word in for Hannah and basically opened the door to her for the chance of a lifetime. Is Seth actually someone who we need to look at? I mean, why did Seth recommend Hannah if she was not armor and material? Did he not know that she was armor and material? You'd imagine he knew Hannah better than the folks on the Russ set did. So why did he recommend Hannah? Was it because he wanted his products to be used ultimately on the Russ set, if you know what I mean? In other words, if the Russ movie wasn't made, if it wasn't done in a certain way, they may have used a different armorer who may have used a different supplier. Does that make sense? So it's quite an interesting, intriguing thing. Okay, I'm unfortunately at 1%, so my phone is going to die any moment. I'm going to say goodbye to you guys. You guys have got no idea how hard it was just to get all of this going. No idea, but anyway, here we are. I'll try and see you guys tomorrow, and hopefully it'll be a less glitch-filled, like a glitch fest. But thanks everyone for being here. It's good to see you guys again. And yeah, hopefully it'll be a more streamlined trial day. What is it, 9? So I'll see you guys then. Thanks everyone for being here at such short notice. Really appreciate it. Take care, and yeah, see you guys for trial date 9 tomorrow. Ciao.